B103.9, Southwest Florida's best music, and JJ, and there's Together Again. 8:06 in the B103.9 morning show. Real quickly here, the NBC2 Storm Center guys had it like this.
Oh, a beautiful day in Southwest Florida today. Just a few clouds, nice breeze going, cool temps with a high of only 70, and right now 54 at Southwest Florida.
I know the guys probably can't hear in the background, but guys, hang on, because we've got Burl Ives doing something here.
But do you recall the most famous reindeer of all? Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer.
Yeah.
All right, Melody, I'd like to do the introductions here.
Okay, well, there's a new book out by Rick Goldschmidt. It's called The Enchanted World of Rankin Bass, a portfolio. And on the phone, we have Rick Goldschmidt and also Arthur Rankin Jr., half of Rankin and Bass. And good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Well, I got to say that, Rick, number one, in paging through this book here, what a fabulous job.
Excellent.
I don't know what was your inspiration for this, but please send some our way.
You must have been a big Rankin Bass fan from the beginning. Is that what inspired you to do this?
Well, partly that, and also the fact that I felt there was a void.
Yes.
It was time to recognize the talents of Arthur Rankin and Jules Bass, and this book was my way of doing it.
So how long did it take you to put it together? Because it looks like a lot of research went into it.
It took about 7 years.
Wow.
7 hard years. The last couple were the hardest, gathering up all the materials
Right.
and working with the publisher every other day on the layout.
Well, Mr. Rankin, I got to say that it's a real honor to talk to you. You're a staple in the end of all these great holiday shows. I mean, you see the Rankin Bass name all over the place. And tell us, in doing these shows, you obviously used a technique that was very unique. What was it like making the Rudolph show and the Frosty, etc.?
Well, the Rudolph idea came to me because my neighbor in New York, a brownstone down the street, was Johnny Marks, who wrote the song Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Oh.
And it had been popular for 5 years or so, recorded by Gene Autry. And I think the only other song that was more popular at that time, and probably still is today, is Irving Berlin's White Christmas.
Right.
But White Christmas is a mood song, and Rudolph has a character.
Fun.
So I prevailed upon Johnny to let me have the rights to the song and the character, and we went on the air with that. And much to our surprise, it's still on the air.
Yeah.
Well,
34 annual performances later.
Absolutely.
Which makes it the longest running, highest rated special in the history of television.
Woo-hoo!
how long did it take to do the Rudolph show?
About 18 months
Yeah.
from beginning to the end.
And did you really move these things?
One frame at a time.
It
Wow.
must have taken forever, 18 months to do that.
Yeah, for every figure that you see on the screen, there is a human figure behind the camera. And after you click off one frame, the figure is moved by its counterpart, and they step back behind the camera again. So it is a very laborious process.
Tedious.
Yeah.
Besides-
They're all very excited about what they're doing,
Yeah.
but you can't stop because there's no calibration. Unlike today when there's computers and so forth, when we made this 35 years ago, it was all in their heads.
Right.
Now, in these shows, Frosty and Rudolph, etc., there's some 35 different holiday shows you've done. Is that correct?
I didn't count Rick's the
Yeah,
counting.
it's right around there.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
You worked with some top name talent. Anybody that stands out in particular?
Well, when we did Smokey the Bear in stop motion animation, and one of the most famous actors in America at that time was James Cagney.
Mm-hmm.
You dirty rat, you.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so I asked him if he would do this, and he said no, he didn't do that sort of thing. He was retired. He was on a farm in upstate New York, and he wouldn't be interested in doing that. And at that time, I went to Washington. Now, the Department of Agriculture controls the rights to Smokey the Bear, and the head of the agriculture, the member of the cabinet, took me in to see President Lyndon Johnson,
Wow.
who asked me who was going to perform in the picture. And I said, well, I'm trying to get Cagney to do it. He said, I love that man. He's my favorite actor. So, of course, I called Cagney back and told him that.
Right.
And he said, well, get me a letter. So I asked the president if he would send the letter to Cagney. He said, that's no problem at all.
Wow.
I gave him the letter. Cagney said, bring it with you and we'll do it, but you better have the letter.
None of that fake
Right.
stuff.
So when first time I met him, he said, I knew your father, I knew your Aunt Doris. They were vaudeville hoofers. So they were all part of the same parcel that traveled together in the old days.
Right.
But he never told me that on the phone. Anyhow, James Cagney did the narration and the character of Smokey Bear. And
The rest is history.
Man, we got along very well.
Now, people may not know that besides just the Christmas shows, you do have quite a few other type shows that you did. Is it kind of disappointing that they aren't getting as much glory as the Christmas shows, or is that fine with you?
Well, you know, a man named David O. Selznick made a picture called Gone with the Wind.
Right.
And in addition to that, he made 100 other very, very fine
Exactly.
films. And he said, you know, when I go, they'll only remember I did Gone with the Wind. So I think that's all part and parcel of being in the business. Some things are more renowned than others, but I have... it's a body of work. It's not just one picture, or it's not just Rudolph or Frosty. Mm-hmm. Although this is the time of the year they come to the front.
Yeah. Say, Rick, in doing this book, obviously a lot of prep went into this, a lot of research. Is there anything about these shows you found out that perhaps you didn't realize before?
Well, there were a few that I found out about that I didn't even know existed or that were made. Like The Wacky World of Mother Goose is one. Arthur and Jules also did a show with Charlie McCarthy that never made it on the air. So there were quite a few that I was unfamiliar with. But the one title that I've gotten so much response to is Mad Monster Party.
Right.
Tim Burton is a big fan. You know, people at Pixar are real high on that film. As a matter of fact, the whole West Coast seems to be huge Mad Monster Party fans. And the unfortunate part of this is the owners of the film are very hard to locate at this point in time, because it was owned by Embassy, but they went out of business. And there's so many people. I mean, I'm getting calls from local Chicago hosts, you know, television hosts that want to show the movie.
Right.
But they're unable to find out who owns the rights.
Wow.
So that's one of the most popular titles, and I get calls all the time about Mad Monster Party.
Do you see a big surge of interest again? It seems like in looking through the book when it talks about the memorabilia and the collectible things, that a lot of it is dated, you know, just from last year.
Well, I just got 4 model kits in the mail yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
They're constantly producing replicas of the Animagic figures because everyone is so fond of them. And
what are they, Rick? Which ones did you get?
Yesterday I got the Chief Elf, Hermie, another version of Rudolph, this is the second one, and a Santa Claus kit.
I must tell you that Rick replicates these for me, and ever so often in the mail I get a present wrapped in foam.
Right.
And he has made another model for me.
Well, I would hope so, yeah.
I collect those with great appreciation. So thank you in advance, Rick, for sending me the new models.
Mr. Rankin, I got to ask you, what was the inspiration? I don't know much about it, behind this notorious Burgermeister Burger.
Burgermeister.
Notorious, eh? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, there was no heart there.
He was so cold.
You know?
No more toys.
It was that time of the year. Everything is so warm in most of our shows. I think we decided we better put a drop of iodine in the tincture.
Well, I tell you.
He was a tough guy.
Yeah. Well, they're very popular figures. They seem to have they seem to prevail. As a matter of fact, in the new film, the Batman and Robin film, there is a scene where Mr. Freeze, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, is showing his bad guys, his troops, how to form up, dance, and sing. And on the telly he's looking at is the Heat Miser song.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, right. And as a matter of fact, they issued that song along with the Snow Miser and the Heat Miser song were issued on CD just this month by Nick at Night and Sony. So it has quite a huge following.
I love that. I'm too much.
Right.
All right. Is there anybody in these days? You mentioned one name, Tim Burton, obviously, that is in his own world. Anybody, Rick or Arthur, that you really think exhibits a lot of the same talents that you did back then? I mean, Tim Burton does some amazing stuff.
Well, hold on. Let's not talk about the past and such. As all things are gone right now.
He's still working.
Rankin Bass Productions is involved in the in a linear animation feature film of Rodgers and Hammerstein's The King and I.
Oh.
And that will be finished the end of next year. That's a big enterprise with songs that we all know and love. So we march forward. There is no yesterday. It's all today, and we're still working and doing very good things.
Well, obviously the techniques have changed significantly.
Oh, indeed, they have. You're right about that. The computers have produced similar works, but stop motion is still a labor of love with a hands-on quality. In my opinion, I think, for example, Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas, which is stop motion, one frame at a time,
right,
has a great deal more warmth to it. That's my analysis of it. I've looked at all this stuff, and I see that there's still a lot. You can see the loving care that goes into the stop motion process.
And James and the Giant Peach, he did that also, right?
Absolutely,
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So when's the last time you sat down and seen these shows, Arthur?
You mean
the holiday ones?
Well, let me put it this way. Every time they come on, I make sure they come on, so I see the first 5 minutes.
Right.
Yeah, but that's more of an accounting feature.
1,000 times.
That's great.
Well, I got to tell you, Mr. Rankin, and to your partner, Mr. Bass, you've provided some very warm and wonderful moments around the holidays. I mean, just to get you in the mood, you grab the Frosty, or I know our program director here is an absolute nuts over Rudolph.
Oh, big time.
And if I hear him one more time imitate the elf that wanted to be a dentist, I'm going to go nuts.
Herbie.
Yes. So.
And I want to thank Rick Goldschmidt, because never before has there been one book or one thing that you can look at just to look up the history and the pictures, and I think you did an excellent job of bringing everything together, not just the Christmas things, but everything that Rankin Bass has done.
I want to join you in thanking Rick also, because it was a labor of love that consumed a great deal of his time and parts of his life.
Yeah.
And when I realized over a year ago that he was deadly serious about all this,
he's not kidding.
He wasn't kidding, and he's a wonderful guy. I went out for the first time this year to meet him and his family, and I saw his collection and what he was doing. So I take my hat off to him for his fine work, and I'm proud to have this book that has been put together for us.
Rick, where can the book be gotten? Is there any special things we need to know?
Well, the book can be bought at most major book chains, but there is an 800 number that you can call to order an individual copy of the book. And this would be 1-800-729-6423. That's 1-800-729-6423.
All right, we'll pass it along in the calls.
Please do. I would like to say goodbye to you, and also to alert my friends in Naples, particularly Mr. and Mrs. Donald Gladstone. I hope they wrote that number down, because there's no free copy coming from me, Donald. Go buy it yourself.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well, Rick and Arthur, hey, thanks a lot. And I know you guys are busy this time of year. Good luck with your book. We're going to end here as we go off with Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer with the wonderful talent of Burl Ives, who, by reading your book, has some great wood figures in his front yard.
Oh, yeah.
And, everybody's a fan, and thank you both again.
Thank you.
Sure,
Happy
thank you.
season. Merry Christmas.
You know,
too.
guys.
Merry Christmas.